Other than that, we're gonna go right into our community moment. If you're new here, community moment is a chance for someone from the community to come up and speak with us, tell us something about their journey. Today, it is the wonderful Mandy McKinney, who I am a huge fan of. I asked her what her hobbies were, and she was like, dude, I don't have time for hobbies. She's like, I work out, I like to try new beers. She's like, I take care of my daughter. She let her husband choose the words to describe her, and the ones that Jordan came up with I thought were pretty good. Laser focus, which is hyphenated. She's kind, and she's an uber mom. And then I asked for a warning label, and he said, hell hath no fury, because it isn't real. So, Mandy, why don't you come on up?
All right, can you hear me? That's really loud. Is that necessary? All right, so I'm not a public speaker, so I'm going to rely heavily on my notes. And I'm going to start off with a disclaimer, and that is there is a part in what I'm about to talk about that does get a little bit graphic. So it's just a warning for you. The topic that I'm going to be sharing with you is about the importance of having an advance directive. All right, so you might remember Maureen Kennedy talking to us about grief and loss a few weeks ago, and the Oasis group brainstormed some ideas on how to address death with kids. Someone made the suggestion that telling them to think of the deceased as just sleeping could easily be misinterpreted by a young child, and I can definitely attest to that. When I was about 7, my grandpa Garnis passed away, and a well-meaning relative told me just that. It resulted in many years of insomnia and a silent preoccupation with death. Eventually, I came to better terms with the inevitable. But recently, my husband, Jordan, suggested that the lingering trauma from that experience explains why it's impossible for me to fall asleep even to this day last night without having a movie on for background noise. And that's not really an exaggeration. I don't know how many movies we own because we own a ton. And I don't know how half of them in because I always pop them in right at the end of the day. So fast forward to my early 20s, and I found myself taking care of a friend's 90-year-old mother. She had fled Europe in the mid-1930s, and her Alzheimer's didn't hide her robust personality. She died from heart failure in the home she had bought 60 years previously, surrounded by a dozen of her closest loved ones. She had an amazing moment of clarity the day before she died, and I got to witness her express wonder for the young woman her granddaughter had turned into, and gratitude for her son and daughter, everything they had gone through to keep her at home, as opposed to sending her to a care facility for the 20 years she suffered from Alzheimer's. Later that year, I found myself providing hospice care to a middle-aged woman with a terminal cancer diagnosis. I had sat with her overnight in the hospital where she chose to be while we listened to her favorite music. She was at the hospital on her own volition. She didn't want to die at home because she had a family, she had kids. She didn't want the memory of her death to be tied to the home that they had made together. Her death was on her terms, and her funeral service was beautiful, with her favorite songs, her favorite flowers, her favorite foods, all being enjoyed by her loved ones, and one last gift that she was able to give to all of them. It was beautiful, and I truly do hope for as much for myself. 6 months ago, on one of my first days off orientation as a new nurse, I lost my first patient in the emergency department. She was barely an adult and had come in just with extreme fatigue, really generalized symptoms that we all feel. She looked at my tech as she stood up to move from the wheelchair to the bed and said, "I don't want to die," and then she collapsed. We coded her for over an hour, and I was there the whole time. I was trying to push drugs to try to restart her heart, delivering breaths to keep her brain oxygenated, compressing her chest to keep her blood pumping. She was naked, and her ribs broke from our chest compressions. Her skin turned blue and then white and cold, and with every chest compression, I could see the energy from our efforts pulse through her subcutaneous tissue in waves. The doctor finally called the time of death, and we had the very difficult task of calling Child Protective Services to take care of the infant she brought in with her until her grandparents could arrive from several states away. Now, that's not the death that I want, and that's not the death that I think any of us deserve. One CDC study demonstrates that only 6 to 18% of emergency department CPR efforts wind up being wind up resulting in the patient being discharged from a hospital, so they don't make it. A depressing portion of those who are not discharged survive the first round of CPR, but they have punctured lungs, broken ribs, blood clots, are on forced breathing machines, and exist only in a morphine-induced haze until, after another bout of CPR, they finally pass away. I'd like to encourage you to consider taking a step towards preventing this for yourself. It's really easy. An advance directive is a legal document that's really painless to fill out. It can be 1 page, 2 pages. You can write it start to finish yourself. You can go online and find a form and just type in the info, print it off, get it notarized. It really doesn't have to be a painless process. It just sounds scary. The important thing is that it lets you choose what interventions are acceptable to keep you alive. You can assign someone to act on your behalf in making decisions, provide even an algorithm for your care providers to follow in choosing treatments. You can give a copy to your loved ones, to your primary care provider, to your local hospital, and you can truly choose. Now, one caveat to that is making sure that you do choose somebody who will act on your behalf, because when it comes down to it, if you're in the emergency department and you've got one loved one who doesn't want to let go, and one loved one saying, no, these are what her wishes are, unless there's a legal document there, they're going to go with the one that wants the interventions because, healthcare professionals carry huge liability issues. So just make sure that you choose someone who you trust, who will truly act on your behalf, and who's present, who's not going to have to fly in for 8 hours. So in conclusion, a professor in nursing school once told me that the reason she worked in hospice after working in labor and delivery for over 2 decades was that birth and death are remarkably similar, which I'd never thought of it like that before. But they both leave an imprint on countless lives, and you really only get to do each one time. You're born once, you die once. It makes sense. An advance directive can make your death as unwanted as it may be truly yours. Now, I meant to print out some copies of basic advance directives to pass out and be super on it, on top of it, but work got away from me this week. So instead, I'll post some links to the Kansas and Missouri processes for advance directives, because they're both a little bit different. They vary by state, to the private Facebook page, so you guys can kind of peruse it and see how easy it really is. I really hope that you'll consider completing this process. Thanks for hearing me out today.